Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Tuesday. I was telling Buddy, my producer, before we started tonight, I've been confused all day as what day it is because of the holiday. So I kept thinking today was Monday, and then I'm like, oh no, wait a minute, it's Tuesday. And that means it's a legit Metaphysical World podcast is on tonight. So welcome to everyone. Before we really get into it tonight, I just have to make a statement of something that happened online last week where my producer and my nephew, who is an incredible human being and one of the most respectful person I've ever known in my life, was attacked on Facebook by someone who I'm not even going to mention their name because they don't even deserve my energy. But I just want to say for everyone who's listening out there that Buddy did not deserve being spoken to that way. No one really does. And if you don't believe in the stuff that we talk on this podcast or on legit podcasts in general, no one's forcing you to believe in any of the stuff we believe in. You can just scroll on by. There's no need to not physically, but emotionally and verbally attack somebody online. Like, I'm sorry, for me, that just shows signs of a coward. So whatever, just, I send positive energy to this person. I really hope his heart heals and his mind heals because obviously I think both are broken. But enough said on that. So tonight we are having another card reading tonight, an oracle card reading. Our card reader, Kathy, is having a little trouble with her camera, so we're just going to have audio tonight with her, but we are going to have video with the people who are receiving the readers. So let's just start tonight, and let's just bring Kathy in to our show. Good evening, Kathy. How are you?
I'm good, Dale. How are you? And I apologize for the technical challenges that we're experiencing.
Sometimes that's just, it's a metaphysical world, right? This is what happens. Sometimes we can't figure it out. We can't figure out why the energy can be off on some nights, and some nights is perfectly fine. Who knows? It is what it is, right, Kathy? So it's not going to stop us. We're still going to have fabulous card readings. We just want you, because our viewers will not be able to see the cards, that maybe you can explain which cards you're pulling and what they are telling you and so people can visualize as we go through this a little bit. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay. Kathy, can you just give us a little bit of background of how you started doing these card readings, how long you've been doing them?
Certainly. So I've had the ability to tap into my intuition since I was very young. But it's been probably the last 12 years where I have actively stepped up and stepped in to use the cards as a vehicle to communicate the messages that are coming through.
Nice. Okay. So do you need any prep work to begin a card reading? Do you need a few minutes to prep yourself or anything?
No, the only thing that I will ask is that anyone who is receiving a reading tonight, that I have permission to work with your energy, that will be considered granted. And then I will begin to work with your energy as well as the energy surrounds you to give you messages you need most tonight. Mm-hmm. They may not be messages that you are seeking, but they will be the messages that you are in need of most tonight.
And do you really, before we bring the first person in, Kathy, let me just ask you this, because that's an interesting way of saying it. Do you believe we receive the messages that we need, not necessarily the ones that we desire? Like the other side knows best of what to send us.
Correct. Exactly.
Yeah. I believe that too. I believe there's more knowledge on the other side because there's less emotions that get us clogged up sometimes. So I think they send us exactly what we need to know. I totally agree with that. Absolutely.
Exactly. So every time that I do a reading, I do ask that if the individual came in with any questions, that you hold them until the end, because I like to see if they will intrinsically get addressed, and we go from there.
Okay. So, Buddy, if you could bring in our first volunteer, that would be wonderful. There she is. Hi, Jill.
Hi.
Hi,
Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Hi, Kathy.
Hi. Nice to meet you. And I apologize for not being able to have you see me.
That's okay.
So I'll step back and let you two just kind of do your thing.
Perfect.
Kathy, I will keep time though, and I'll let you know because you have about 20 to 25 minutes for each reading. So I'll keep track of the time for you, okay?
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you. I appreciate that. So Jill, I was just chatting with Dale, and I am asking for permission to work with your energy.
Yes.
Thank you. And then I will begin to work with your energy as well as the energy that surrounds you to give you the messages that you need most tonight. They may not be the messages that you are seeking, but they will be the messages that you need most.
Okay.
So do you have any questions on the process?
I do not.
All right, perfect. I'm going to use Alana Fairchild's Sacred Rebels deck. It's a beautiful deck. And I love her energy that she puts into every deck. All right. Okay, so I've pulled 3 cards for you, Jill. The first is Diving for Light. It's a beautiful card. It's a picture of a woman with 2 little seahorses at her chin, and her hair is up, and she has, again, seahorses in her hair, so very much aligned with the water element. And so what it's coming through is that you are very focused on all things positive and that you consistently seek the light in any given day. And that you, even in the dark times, right, will try to find the bright spot, and that people appreciate that about you. It feels like you are the buoy, right, and the beacon of light for your friends and family in those challenging times. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. The next card is Spirals of Manifestation, and it's a beautiful card of a woman looking in the distance with multicolored spirals behind her. And you have the gift of manifestation, but you doubt your abilities sometimes. Like, it's almost as if it feels like you've tried it a few times, but then you get concerned that you're not doing it quite right, and that you kind of set it off to the side. Is that also a fair statement?
I guess somewhat. It's somewhat. Somewhat.
Okay, so the encouragement to you, Miss Jill, is that you step up and in, right, and set the intention. So because you do have the ability to manifest, and it's all about setting your intention. And I would encourage you to set the intention at a high level for what you are looking to bring in. And what I mean by that is that you don't want it to be overly specific. And I would use the example of a sports car with you, that if I were to set the intention to bring in a sports car, that's very high level and very vague, and it gives the universe a lot of room to work. Whereas if I said to the universe, I want a black BMW with beige leather interior and as much horsepower under the hood, etc., that's very detailed and very specific. And the universe doesn't have a lot of room to work in that scenario or intention, and you may miss out on something other than the BMW. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay. So set your intentions at a high level, and then begin to pay attention when you set the intention in motion to the information that the universe is sending back to you, because it feels like the universe sends you lots of information in lots of different ways, like songs on the radio. It could be people that you haven't seen for a while that you happen to cross paths with and have a conversation that resonates with you. It could be a flyer in a store as you're walking in, anything that would relate to the intention that you kind of set in motion, to see if you need to shift the action items that you have in your mind's eye on how to bring this in. And then the next step, right? And I like to do this with the phases of the moon. So I'm usually setting the intention in motion at the new moon, and then while the moon is waxing, or building energy. I'm paying attention to all that information the universe is sending me. And then at the full moon, I'm going to release what no longer serves me as it relates to that intention. And as the moon continues to wane, you will continue to release what no longer serves you. Does that all make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Because what it feels like is that when you go to set your intentions in motion, that you are using something that is overly specific. Does that make sense to you?
No. Well,
No?
no,
Okay.
I'm very good at manifesting. It's not the manifesting part that I have a problem with. It's the accepting it once it comes.
Interesting. Okay. So it's what I'm hearing is that sometimes you don't feel worthy. Is that a fair statement of
Yeah.
what you brought in?
Yes.
Yeah. So understand and know that that's part of the release work for you, is to recognize your worthiness for whatever it is that you are bringing in. You wouldn't have set the intention in motion if some part of you did not feel that you were worthy of receiving it.
Right.
The third card that I have pulled for you is relax the hold of darkness and be at cause. And so this is a picture of a forest, and it is of a woman crouching, and she's encircled in white light. And it's a beautiful depiction of what I like to use as white light as protection. So it feels as if sometimes as you move through your day that you encounter a lot of negativity or challenges or obstacles that you need to kind of overcome. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
And sometimes you take the negativity or the challenge like very personally, like you internalize it and you take accountability for it, even though it's not yours. Is that also a fair statement?
Absolutely.
So boundary work, girl, is important for you. It feels as if you are in need of boundaries with two individuals in particular, one male, one female. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
And that your concern in setting those boundaries is handling the reaction that will accompany the boundary work. Is that also a fair statement?
Yes.
Okay. So what I would encourage you to do is to understand the why behind the need for the boundary that you are setting, and then use the validate and restate method. And I usually give people 3 tries, right, when I'm setting boundaries. So you understand and know that when you set this boundary, you are saying yes to you and no to them. So understand your why and get clear on your why so that it feels good to you. And then when the reaction comes, notice I did not say if, but when the reaction comes, you validate and say, I understand or I recognize, and you insert whatever the emotion is that they are showing. However, and then you restate your boundary and you hold firm. Mm-hmm. And you want to do that like 3 times, because when you start to set the boundary, Jill, people are going to be upset that you are no longer doing something for them. They are accustomed to having you do because you make life easier for them. So they may leave it alone for a couple of weeks and then come back, right? And so you just use the same method of validate and restate, and you hold firm to your boundary. You do that 3 times, and on that 4th time, that's when you can say, what part of no are you having trouble with? Right. And that's when you get real clear on what your why is so that you can understand. When you begin this boundary work, I would encourage you to use white light. Are you familiar with white light as a protection tool?
I am.
Okay. So do you already use it?
I do. Not as often as I should, but I do.
Okay. So I would encourage you to begin to use it with more consistency. And I would also encourage you to use it anytime that you will be in known situations where you will encounter any challenge or negativity, or where there may be more people than expected. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any questions on the 3 cards that we've discussed so far?
I do not.
Okay. So I think we have time for some additional cards.
Oh yeah, you have plenty of time.
Okay, cool. All right, so we have, ooh, nice. So 3 more cards. So the first card for this one is called Faith in the Process, and it is a picture of a woman who is in a little red wagon with 2 little birds, and she is holding herself in like a prayer pose, and the little red wagon says faith on it. So it feels as if you are moving through a change, like you've set an intentional change in motion. Is that a fair statement? But that there's a lot of nervousness and almost to the point of anxiety. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so girl, you set this change in motion on purpose. So you need to have faith in yourself, right? That you can bring this to fruition and to the end and see it to the other side. But what it feels like is that there's like lots of stuff that's coming at you that perhaps you didn't totally anticipate or expect. But that's okay. You can do it, right? Just have faith in you and faith in the process that you have laid out, because girl, you plan like nobody else. Like you got everything surrounded, right?
Yeah.
And you have anticipated a lot of things that have occurred, and these few outliers, those were like, they are outliers and anomalies with good reason, right? Nobody could have expected these to happen, but you're moving through them with as much ease and grace as you possibly can, given the situation. Yeah. So have more faith in you, right? And just take a deep breath. Like, I love a good deep cleansing breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. It's a very discreet tool, right? It engages your vagus nerve and it calms you instantly, and it gives you a hot second to kind of get grounded,
right,
and reframe. So I would encourage you to remember that little tool in your toolkit.
Okay.
Because this change that you have set in motion is part of this big, bold vision that you have. So the next card is Big, Bold Vision, and it's a beautiful card. And the woman, it's the picture of a woman, and she has a bumblebee at her throat and a bumblebee at her third eye and forehead, and she is covered in gold. So riches, right? So you are all about bringing in abundance, and she's got 2 doves at the bottom that are moving forward, right? So you are all about bringing in all of this abundance, right? The change that you set in motion is all about bringing in the abundance of time, the abundance of joy, the abundance of things that make you happy. Like, for once you are doing something for you and not for somebody else, right? Because you have this huge heart, right? That you give a lot, and you have trouble asking for help sometimes, right? So that's an opportunity area for you to learn how to ask for help. But you're on the right path, girl, and everything's going to come to fruition. I promise.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's, it's the journey of getting there, right? And just quiet the self-doubt. The last card that in this little pull that I have is called Collaborative Dreaming. And it's a beautiful card of 4 individuals, and they are laying opposite each other, right? As if they are asleep, right? But it feels as if part of this change that you have set in motion is that you are actually working towards a partnership in some way, shape, or form. It may not be a formal partnership like one with contracts, but it's something that is close and it's extremely meaningful. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, and it's almost as if your partners are going, "Will you just calm down? It's all going to work out all right." Like,
Mhm.
right? Like they're saying, "No, we've got this covered, right? And we can do it together." It's that asking for help piece, right?
Yes.
So you have to raise your voice, girl. Right?
Okay.
Use your voice, and ask for help because they're right there at the ready and willing to help you move this forward. So, but everything is like on track. You just have to have faith. Do you have any questions on these cards?
No. I'm glad we pulled 3 more.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Mhm.
And I think we have time to do a few more.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, love it. Woohoo. Yay. Okay. This is just further validation. All right. So the first card is inspiration, and it is a very yellow centered card of a woman that has this beautiful hairdo of flowers with a bright, shining yellow sun at the top with bumblebees all around. So your yellow is associated with your solar plexus, and this is all about getting comfortable sharing who you are and kind of sitting in your authenticity, right? And stop putting on the mask, right? Stop trying to be who you think other people want you to be and just be you,
Mhm.
right? And when you do that, Jill, you are well received, right? And you are surprised at the response that you are receiving from these people when you're just being you, right?
Mhm.
So do more of that because people are receptive and they enjoy it, right? And you are full of inspiration and ideas, and it's almost like everything popcorns out of your head, right? Like people come to you for guidance
Yes.
and when they get stuck on something, right?
Mhm.
And then understand and know that your deepest dreams, right? There, you have everything it takes to bring them to fruition right now. It's almost as if you are struggling with that worthiness again, right? Imposter syndrome is what I would say to you, right? Because you're like, no, I need to go do this before we can do that. Like, no, you have already acquired all of the knowledge and all of the tools that are needed to bring this over the finish line. You are more than worthy of receiving what is coming, and it's already there. You just have to start acting as if it is.
Okay.
Makes sense?
Yes.
Okay. The last card, and that card, what is already within you, it's palms that are, so if you were to put them in prayer and then open them so that they are like a V,
Mhm.
there's all of these little butterflies that are being released. And there is the flower of life symbol in the background.
Okay.
All good things, right?
Good.
Um, the last card that I have is Dream a Beautiful Dream, right? And this is picture the earth, and it is surrounded in celestial light. And at the top of the earth is like this wonderful burst of yellow sun. And at the bottom of the earth is a smaller, but directly opposite, similar, right? And it's connected by a line of yellow.
Yes.
So you are a dreamer, my friend. You, right? And your inspiration comes from your dreams. And sometimes you don't think that you can bring these dreams forward, but you've done it time and time again if you look back at your life, right?
Mhm.
So use that as the validation, and that should be the only validation that you need because you've accomplished quite a bit in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
So it's time to recognize it and give yourself credit. So, and continue to dream. Like, don't let anybody say, well, that dream's too big. There is no such thing.
Mhm.
Right?
Yep.
The only limit is the limit that you place on yourself. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have
Yes.
any questions on this spread?
No. No. Mhm.
Awesome.
So,
Mhm.
Here,
how do you feel about the overall reading?
Oh, it was good. It's on the money. I mean, I'm on the fence about a new endeavor, and I keep going back and forth because I don't think I can do it, but I know I can do it, but I don't think I can do it. So I keep planning and over planning as to why I can and can't do it. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was
You
very
needed this kick in the butt.
a little bit. Yeah, I think I
Yeah.
did. Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely did need the kick in the butt. Definitely. Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you, Jill, so much for joining us. We
You
really
too.
appreciate it. Kathy, thank you. That was a fabulous reading.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you, Jill, and I wish you well.
You have no idea how right on you were. My God, Kathy, like you hit that right on the head. She needed to hear everything you said to her. Like I'm sitting here like, like, yes, that's exactly what she needed to hear. Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Well,
Now, do you need a few minutes to kind of clear the cards or anything before we bring the next person in?
no, ma'am. Go ahead. I'm
Okay.
ready.
All right, buddy. Whenever we're ready, bring the next one. Hi, Katie. How are you? We can't hear you, hon.
Can you hear me now?
Now I can. There you go.
Okay, there we go. How are you?
I'm well. Now, Kathy's having a little problem with the video part of her thing, so she'll be describing the cards to you, okay, as she's
Okay.
giving the reading. And I'm just going to be quiet and sit in the background until it's all done.
Sounds good. Thank you.
She keeps us honest on time as well, Katie.
I do.
Oh, nice to meet you virtually, and thank you for joining us tonight. And
Thank you.
may I have permission to work with your energy?
You do.
Thank you. So the way that it works for me is that you will receive the messages that you need most today. They may not be the messages that you are seeking, but they will be the messages that you need most. Do you have any questions on the process?
No.
Perfect. I like your energy. It's very calm. So tonight I am going to use the Tony Carmine Salerno Gaia Oracle deck with you. It's a beautiful deck associated with a lot of earth energy. You feel very grounded and calm, which is nice. Ooh, okay. All right. So I've pulled 3 cards for you. The first is called The Dream. And it's the picture of a woman who is laying sky-clad without clothes on a bed, a canopy of greens underneath a full moon. And it's a dark blue indigo sky. So, and what it feels like, Katie, is that you dream, but you don't often recall your dreams, but sometimes you do. And your spirits are like those who have crossed over, loved ones who have crossed over, they come and visit you to give you the messages that they are wanting to give you, because you don't necessarily pay attention to the signs and symbols that they send you during the day. Does that make sense to you?
It does. Yeah. I'm kind of blind when it comes to signs and all that stuff. So that definitely makes sense.
All right, cool. And sometimes you remember the dreams, yes? And sometimes you don't?
Very seldomly I remember them.
Okay, but sometimes you experience what feels like deja vu. Is that
Yes.
a fair statement? Okay, so that is the recurrence of something that has occurred in your dream. Okay, so what they're doing is that they are sending you the information in your dream to get you ready for the encounter that will happen in the physical world. So you'll experience it as if you have already been there once before. So because you have trouble recalling what your dreams are, the encouragement to you is to keep a small journal or notepad and pen or pencil beside your bed. And upon waking in the morning, just write down the first 3 to 5 things that come to mind. Do not try to make sense of them, just write them down. Write the first 3 to 5 things.
Okay.
And do that for a period of 21 days. And don't look at the messages until the end of the 21 days. And then at the end of the 21 days, what you can do is you can go through and you can see, was there a theme? Did something repeat, right? As one of the messages that you are needing to receive and recognize, right? And then as you've established this practice, then you are kind of training your brain to kind of think about what has gone on during your sleeping hours. And then you'll be able to recall things a little bit faster, right? I would also encourage you to take note of those deja vu moments so that you can kind of connect them as you move forward with your journaling. Make sense?
It does. Yep.
All right, cool. The next card that I have is the Ocean of Eternal Love, right, for healing, creativity, and fertility. And this is a beautiful card of dark blue. Again, it's a full moon and it's a single drop of what appears to be like water fire, right? It's all white with blue and it's dropping into a small little basin of light. What they're doing for me now is that they're kind of restricting my throat, which means that you do not always say what needs to be said when it needs to be said, right? You miss opportunities because you think that you can go back and say what needs to be said in a private conversation. It's almost as if you don't want to initiate a challenge or conflict. Is that a fair statement?
It is.
Okay, so girl, you need to start using your voice, right? And you have to trust that you are going to say what needs to be said in that moment that it needs to be said. And the tone that you will use to deliver it and the words that will be used will be what is exactly needed in that moment. You have to trust that.
Okay.
Because what's happening for you, right, what it feels like is that every time that you quiet your voice, you're stucking, right? And your body's hanging on to that because you don't get to release it later. And then it ends up coming out sideways at another point in time, right? So it can look like, and it feels like it's more that you will get sad about things versus angry. You have pockets where you get angry about things, but it feels like you get more sad and contemplative about missed opportunities. Is that a fair statement?
It is. Yep.
Okay. So every time that you do that, right, you're just kind of piling on. Every time you do that, think of it as saying no to you, right? And anytime that you go to use your voice and actually share your opinion and what needs to be said, you are saying yes to you. And you are releasing, right? And you are no longer hanging on to anything, because when you continuously stuff, your body hangs onto it. And not only does it come out sideways in the fashion of emotion, it will also begin to manifest as dis-ease within your body, like aches, pains, sore throats, colds, headaches, eye trouble, hearing loss, ringing in your ear, that sort of thing. Does that all make sense to you?
It does. Yep.
Okay. It can also be digestive problems because it feels like sometimes you have digestive issues, and it usually follows. It's usually a couple of days after one of those opportunities that you let go. So I would encourage you to kind of track that, right? Like every time that you don't use your voice, watch what happens, right? Start paying attention, closer attention to you. So yes. Yeah, they're being very insistent on you using your voice. Is there a personal matter that's going on right now that you don't feel comfortable sharing your opinion on?
Not right now. No, not really.
Like within the last month?
Yes, within the last month.
Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you for that validation. So it's still with you. It's kind of like in your subconscious, right? And have you been experiencing heartburn?
No.
No? Okay. That's interesting because they're making it feel like heartburn. And the individual that this has happened with, you still see on a pretty regular basis. Is that a fair statement?
Not as often, but yes.
But still like it's more regular. It's not like you go weeks without seeing them, correct? You're seeing them like every other day or something. It's more frequent.
A little more than that. Well, a little less than that. Probably every couple of weeks or so. It's the incident I'm thinking about.
Okay. So the next time that you see this individual, can you like set a date for coffee just so that you can have a conversation? You need to clear the air on this situation. It's important. Your voice, your opinion needs to get voiced because you're holding on to it. And it's not a good thing. Does that make sense to you?
It does.
Okay. So we're going to let that one go. Just know that you need to start using your voice more. Eternal Dance is the next card that has been pulled. And again, it's a woman who has been wrapped in greenery. And there's lots of blues. It's a little bit on the darker side of like from the color perspective, not dark energy, but darker. So it feels as if, right, and it's all about movement, right, and the path of least resistance, because it feels like sometimes you make a choice to go down the most challenging path. Does that make sense to you? Like you don't ever cut yourself a break and like just go where it's going to be a little bit easier.
It does.
Okay. All right. So, and that it feels too that you have become a little bit sedentary, like you're not moving as frequently as you used to or with intention. Does that also make sense to you? Like, have you slowed down a workout routine? Okay. You have to get back, move your body, right? And then allow yourself, cut yourself some slack, right? Because you're holding yourself to too high of a standard. And because you're thinking that if it's not challenging, it's not worth it. That is so wrong, right? It's okay. If something comes easy, it means that it was meant. So shift that perspective, right? It doesn't always have to be work. It can just happen, right? Because you've initiated all the right things. So I encourage you to start making different choices. And that feels more like on the professional side of things. Does that make sense to you?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. All right. Do you have any questions on that 3-card spread?
No.
No. All right. So let's move on to the next thing. All right. Cool. Nice. All right. So the first card we have is Sacred Journey. It's all about life cycles, family, and transformation. It's red. Its primary color is red, but then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 circles that have the tree, and the tree is growing and blossoming. And it's got the red, it has the orange, the yellow, the green colors are predominant. And what that means is it is associated with your chakras. And so the red is all about your root chakra and feeling like you're walking on stable and secure ground. And for the most part, most of the time you feel like you're on pretty solid ground, but there's been some apprehension. So the second card that I pulled is called Apprehension, of moving out into the world, doubt and fear, right? And it's a picture of a woman in the fetal position laying on the ground, covered in the vines. And so what it feels like is that you know that a change is needed, but you're nervous about making the change that you know that you need to make. This feels like it's more personal because you're afraid of the next steps, like in what will come. Like you don't even want to entertain it. Does that make sense to you?
It does.
Okay. So understand and know, girl, that you are beginning to forge a path for you for the first time in a long time. Right? It feels like you have neglected yourself for a little while, and your self-care and your self-acceptance, right? And your self-love. And now you're starting to bring it back into the fold, and do it with a little bit more consistency. But it, because you had it on the back burner for so long, it feels foreign. Does that make sense to you?
It does.
Okay. So keep going, because you're on the right path, with the self-care and the self-acceptance and the self-love. That is important, right? We as women, we have this backwards idea, is how I want to call it, right? That we have to put everybody else's needs first before we can even think about us, right? And that's so untrue, because the beauty of it is, Katie, when you can shift and put yourself in position number one, and I'm not going to ask you to move to position number one. I do want to get you to position number 3, and then 2, and then 1. But when you can get there to first position and you meet your needs first, everything else in life just falls into place like magic. And it truly does feel like magic, right? But we run around and think, oh, I got to take care of the kids. I got to take care of mom. I got to take care of dad. I got to take care of my partner. I got to take care of, like, there's a school function. There's all this stuff at work, right? All these things that pull you away from taking care of you. So bring it back to center. It's not selfish. It's necessity, especially for you. Because you've embarked on this journey, right? Like, you're beginning to explore what really truly makes you happy, right? And you need to afford yourself that time to begin to understand what makes you happy. And it's okay. You're worth that time investment, right? So release the apprehension and the guilt and the nervousness and the fear. My favorite thing about fear, right? I like to turn it on its head. Fear is false evidence that appears real. And once you understand that it's false evidence that appears real, you can face everything and rise above it. And you remove the fear, because then you're just dealing with the facts. Make sense?
It does. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because the last card I have for you in this spread is called Hidden Path. Right? It's the marriage of spirit and matter. And this is a beautiful card. It is wonderful, abundant earth with 2 trees that are intertwined, with the sun to the left, with the Eye of Horus to the right, and the Ankh, which is the key, in the middle of the twining trees. And the canopy on the trees is vibrant and full of color, and representative of all the chakras and being in balance. Because when you are able, girl, to put yourself first and begin this journey of self-discovery and taking care of you once again, you are going to uncover all of these hidden gifts, right, that have been laying dormant for a while, that have caught your interest, right, and that you've started to explore again. And it's going to feel like you are coming to life. And the more that you do it, the more balanced you will feel. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any questions on this spread?
No. Nope.
No. Okay, cool. I think we have
Katie,
time.
do you have any questions in general that you want answered? We still have more time.
I guess, there's been quite a few losses that I've been through just in kind of a short amount of time. So I guess my question would be, because I don't necessarily notice signs all the time. I don't necessarily see anything. I don't know if after keeping the reading journal, the dream journal or anything, if that will definitely help, I'm assuming. But I just don't know if there's maybe any messages or anything.
Sure. So let's see. Okay. So interesting. Okay. So the card that is in the middle of the spread, because I'm going to start in the middle of the spread this time, is the Thinking of You card, right? And it's a bright sun that is illuminated over water, right? And it's beautiful colors of red, orange, and yellow. So you've had several people that have crossed over within the last 12 months. Yeah.
Yes.
And it feels like it's a male and potentially 2 females, correct?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the mail was a little longer ago, but yeah. Yep.
But you've been thinking of him lately, like calling him to mind.
No.
Okay. So, all right. Does the word forgiveness so as it relates to the male, does the word forgiveness make sense to you?
Kinda. Yeah.
So forgiveness is a powerful tool, right? And I don't want to go into too much detail for you on air. However, forgiveness is a powerful tool and it's never about the other person. It's always for you. And what it feels like as it relates to the male entity is that there's some forgiveness work that needs to be done. It almost feels as if you took on more accountability than was yours. Does that make sense to you?
It does.
Okay. So you need to release that, girl. You cannot continue to carry that burden because it's not yours to carry. And that you need, when you are doing forgiveness work, you do it in whatever way feels right to you, whether that's writing and burning or simply calling it up in your mind's eye. But you do the forgiveness work to forgive them, for they did not know any better at that time. And then you also forgive yourself. And in so doing, you free up space within you and you release the burden that's being carried. Does that make sense to you?
It does.
Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry that has happened and that is the work that is in front of you. But once you do that, I think that some things will become clearer for you too, and that life won't feel as challenging. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay. The 2 female energies that have crossed over, they're with you every day. One of them has a really good sense of humor. Does that make sense to you? Like, they make me giggle. Like, it's like,
It does.
right? It's kind of like they're kibitzing, and they would always try and make you smile, like elicit a smile when you were in their presence. So know that they hear, right? Because it sounds as if, based on what I'm feeling and hearing, is that you talk to them on a pretty regular basis. So just know and understand that they hear that, recognize that, and say thank you. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And when you get the shivers, because there are times where you get the shivers throughout your whole body and there's no reasonable explanation as to why, please understand and know that it is one or both of them that have walked through you to give you a hug. Okay?
Yes.
All right. Cool. So the card that is to the right of this card, the Thinking of You card, is the Search, right? And this, and I meant to bring it in as we were chatting about that male person who has crossed over, because it's called The Search, right? And it's a picture of a woman that has light shining down on her from above, and it's full of greens. And the green is all about your heart chakra. And it's about giving and receiving, but it's called The Search, right? And feeling lost and confused and lonely. And so when you embark on that forgiveness journey, girl, the confusion and the feeling like you have no anchor, and that loneliness feeling, right? Because it almost feels as if you struggle with worthiness some days, and some days it's more of a challenge than others. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
That forgiveness work is going to help you with all of that, right? So please know and understand and recognize your own worth, girl. You bring a lot to the table every single day. You touch so many lives that you are not even aware of. Your ripple effect is large, right? Like, you have dropped a boulder in the ocean many times over. This is how you are impacting other people. So please know and recognize that when those moments of challenge end up coming. The last card that is in this spread is Harmony. And it's a beautiful picture of a woman who is dancing again within the green, and some browns and yellows and oranges. And it's all about power, self-confidence, and productivity. And that when you are able to do this work that we've discussed regarding forgiveness and the release, that a beautiful balance is going to come in to life, and things are going to shift for you just intrinsically, right? Life is going to seem a little bit brighter because it is, right? You've shifted your perspective and you're focusing on the light. You also, right, have an opportunity to ask for help when needed, because it feels like you say no to help that is offered a lot. And it's genuine. The people who are offering you that help, girl, they're genuine in their willingness to help you and listen. So take them up on it and have the conversation. Make sense?
It does.
Okay. Do you have any questions on this spread?
No.
Do you have any other questions that didn't get answered?
No, I think it was great. That it hit the nail on the head many times. I have a lot of work to do, but
And just notice, Katie, when you're getting hugs, because that's fabulous. And you and
that
I
I
both know
definitely
who's
do.
giving you the hugs.
And I
And
had a feeling that's what it was, and I wasn't 100% sure because, like I said, I'm totally, I don't notice anything, but it's good to know that is what it is.
yeah, that's beautiful to know. Perfect timing that you heard that too.
It is.
Right. Thank you, Katie, so much for being with us tonight. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, of
Thank you,
course.
Katie.
Bye, hon. You did it again, Kathy. That was fabulous, my friend. That was absolutely fabulous.
Thank you.
We
Yeah.
still have 5 minutes left. Could you do me one more favor while we have 5 minutes?
Of course.
Could you just let me know, pull 3 cards for me, let me know what the next month is going to bring for me, or the next couple of months.
Sure. We can do that.
Thank you.
I'm actually going to use the MJ Cullinane Urban Crow Oracle deck for you.
Okay.
Crows are one of my favorites because you are a busy manifestor, girl. You like to bring things in. Right? And crows are all about manifestation and bringing in the good words. All right. Okay. Ooh, nice. All right. So the first card that I pulled for you, Miss Dale, is called Survival. And it's a picture of a crow that is on a branch that is covered by beautiful white little flowers. And there is a fox standing on top of the flowers that can't see the crow because the crow is hiding. And there's a city in the background. And so what you are beginning to do for yourself actively, like right in this moment, is to understand how far you have gotten yourself in life and how much that you have survived, right, and gotten through and overcome. And you are starting to give yourself credit for it. Well done, girl. Well done. So continue to do that, because that's going to actually propel you forward. And as you look back to see what you have come through, you are pulling forward lessons that are going to help you initiate further changes in your life on the go forward. The next card that I have for you is Sacred Space. And this is a nest. It's a crow's nest. There's the two crows that are standing over the nest and looking into the nest and watching over the 4 beautiful eggs that are in the nest. I encourage you. It feels like you have pockets of sacred space, like throughout your home, as well as your office. And sometimes you do what I like to do, and you have portable sacred space. But I would encourage you to spend more time in it, because it feels like you're constantly busy. So you actually need to kind of take a breath, right? And it's going to help you pull those lessons forward from that first card when you can get quiet, right? So that you can, because it feels like you've got like 3 ideas, Dale, that you've been jockeying back and forth between, like, which one do I pay attention to next? But there's 2 that have your attention, that you keep getting pulled back to more often than not. So I would encourage you to start focusing with intention, greater intention on those 2. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I'm also going to encourage you to break up the routine. The 3rd card that I pulled for you is routine. And this has a bunch, it's got like a bunch of houses on it and many crows that are flying, but they're all flying in the same manner and on the same path, right? So it feels like you are in a routine and that you're doing the same thing every day, right? And it brings you a great deal of comfort. But what's needed in order to bring forth these 2 ideas that you're going to start paying attention to more often is a disruption in the routine. Right? Change is a good thing in this instance. So even if it means that you take a different route to the office, or you go to a different coffee shop, or something simple, right? Just begin to introduce the change so that you can get comfortable with it, because it does feel like sometimes you resist change a little bit.
Just a little bit.
But when you can disrupt your routine, then it allows change to come in and feel good.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That was perfect. It's probably just what I needed to hear, right?
I think so. Right?
Yeah, I think so too. And what you said to Jill and what you said to Katie, I mean, it really was profound, Kathy, and I think it helped both of them tremendously. So that was really fabulous. I can't thank you enough for coming on tonight. And I hope someday you will come back again and do this again with us, because it really was a great, great show tonight.
Thank you. I would love to. Thank you so much for having me on, and I will do some research to see about how to fix my camera.
Yes, so we can see your pretty face next time. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and to all our viewers, thank you, and I hope you all have a fabulous week. And don't forget to join us again next Tuesday night for It's a Legit Metaphysical World. Good night, everybody. Thank you.